Over the next 5 minutes, I have to compete for your attention with this. This, and a whole lot of this. And if you happen to be watching this talk as a video online, there's a 33% chance that I've already lost you. And a 99% chance that I made that statistic up to keep the rest of you here. There's a whole new name for what we're going through today, and it's called the hyperloop of the attention economy. It's been widely talked about by economists, psychologists, design ethicists like this guy, Tristan Harris, a former product philosopher at Google, who's made it his life's goal to emphasize on its importance. The hyperloop of the attention economy. It sounds super fancy, sure. But what does it really mean? Well, traditionally, economies have been built on the principle of scarcity of resources. In a time where content has grown increasingly abundant and immediately available, attention is that one resource that becomes the limiting factor in the consumption of information. There's just a finite amount of time to consume an infinite amount of information. Time today is increasingly becoming more valuable than money. And your smartphone is where the technology and media companies are waging wars in the race for your attention. When you receive that notification, you're essentially being nudged into scheduling a tiny block of your time into something that you may not have originally planned to do. And how do they get you to do that? By appealing to your most basal instincts. And then finding mildly persuasive techniques to keep you there. And in the absence of what psychologists call stopping cues, you could spend an endless period of time doing something that you didn't even originally plan to do. So last week, I received a notification on WhatsApp. I was working on this very presentation. And a friend of mine, he sent me a bunch of pictures of this adorable puppy that he had recently adopted. Her name is Ziggy. I was love at first sight. And before I knew it, I'd spent over 40 minutes on everything from images of Ziggy to cute puppy videos to a whole bunch of other things without realizing that my presentation was still not done. The real irony here is that I actually feed this economy. I run a company called Supari Studios, and we make shorter and shorter videos in the attempt to try and capture the shrinking opportunity we have to access your attention. We do this every day by trying to crack the code on how do we get you to engage more with our content. And that essentially brings me to two questions. One, as a creator in the digital world, how do I keep your attention in an ethical way? And two, as consumers, how do we remain owners of our own attention? Now, as a business, I'm constantly struggling. I'm struggling to achieve a balance between how do I stimulate your brain, how do I stimulate you in a more reflective way, and not just sort of tap into your basal instincts. And more importantly, how do I give you the opportunity to decide when do you want to see me or not? I and many other attention-seeking entities like me can do this by creating content that you consciously choose to consume. And while you may not come to me, that's a chance I probably will have to take. I have to earn my place in your consciousness. And that essentially brings me to the final point of my talk today. In our everyday lives, we decide who do we let into our homes. We build doors, we put in locks, we invest in security, we do a whole bunch of things, but digitally somehow the same does not always apply. Digitally, we let anyone into our homes, take any amount of our time, money, and often information as well. So how do we solve this problem? We'll need to make some radical shifts. But before we do any of that, first, we need to recognize that our minds are vulnerable. That we can be persuaded into doing things that we may not have originally planned to do. And second, we need evolved models of business and technology that are more aligned to our goals as individuals, to give us time for the things that matter to us instead of taking away that time from us. So how are we spending the most scarce resource of our time? It certainly can't be by watching another cute puppy video. Thank you.